Hello and welcome then to the Rising Stars, no longer a regional final, more of a global one. If you've watched these finals in past years, you'll know that we have 3 of them, but this year we're going to combine them all. So we'll have 4 competitors from North and South America, 4 from Europe and Africa, and then 4 from Asia and Oceania as well. Of course, the Rising Stars, if you win this race, then it will guarantee you a place in the Pro Draft. And we've seen riders like Vindex and also Piero Ricciuti in the past go on to launch their budding MotoGP eSport careers. So then, for this one, it's just myself, Jack Gorse, to talk you through it as we go racing in Sepang. So then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is that you're watching along from. Welcome to the Rising Stars final. This is, of course, the place where we've got together the 12 best gamers through the Rising Stars qualifiers, and we're putting them head-to-head here to fight for one place in the 2023 Pro Draft. My name's Jack Gorse. I'll be talking you through this one, and here is the grid then, with Bailey, the Brit, on pole on the Gresini Ducati. Alongside him, we do have Danny, 26, on the VR46 Ducati, and completing the front row, we have Ale Guido, the Italian, on the MotoGP Yamaha. Another Yamaha in 4th, Aiki, that's a familiar name that you may remember from Rising Stars last year. In 5th is the Ducati of, what's that one, Keinster, I do believe, 28. And completing it, we have Joe in 6th position. Sciatic Racer 92 is in 7th on the head of the 3rd row. In the middle of the 3rd row, we do have Adam Iman 43 on the Repsol Honda. And then completing the 3rd row, we have Corosaurus, the American. We also have Macargo on the Red Bull KTM. And then rounding out, we should have 2 more. Here we do have Mr. Hitstick on the Aprilia, some lovely green boots. And completing the grid, Bastona, the Brazilian, on the Suzuki. So watch the lights end, build the revs, and drop the clutch. We are go now. Yes, we are. We'll go for the Rising Stars final here. Looks like Bailey's got quite a good start off the front row, but actually Ali Guido on the Yamaha. Fantastic launch then for the Yamaha, man. Looks as though he's going to be able to pull it down to turn 1, or is he? We all compiling in. Who was that on the Ducati? I think, he's gone down in the end. 2 or 3 have gone down, actually. So Keinster, 28, has gone down, as well as Ale Guido, actually, who got the initial hole shot. So that's a disaster for the Yamaha man. And Bastona looks like the other one that went down there as well. Macargo 2, so 4 of them actually went down. What it has meant, though, is Danny, 26, on the VR46 racing team. Ducati is out front early on. Adam Iman's come up from, I think, 8th place on the grid into 3rd, and Sciatic Racer as well was around 7th, if I'm not mistaken. So some good starts from those two, as it looks as though there's a bit of crisscrossing here through some of these turns around Sepang. Of course, Sepang, a very tricky circuit, especially when you're out on the grass there. Bailey, the pole man, he's recovering, now up into 3rd as both Aiki and Adam Iman go wide there at the double right-hander. Now, this is a big breaking point. Look at this, though. Already, Danny and Sciatic Racer making a little bit of a break for it on these Ducatis. But now, all of a sudden, as we say that, the poleman Bailey, the Brit, is certainly closing in onto their tails. Speaking of tails, here we do. We're going to hop on board with the man in 2nd. That is Sciatic Racer, number 92. Sciatic Racer from Malaysia, no doubt. Certainly, MotoGP eSport, very popular in Malaysia and countries such over there. So certainly doing the Malaysian fans proud here, running early on in 2nd place. Strong performance so far. So then we're going to be coming down to complete the 1st lap here in this Rising Stars final. If you're not too familiar with what Rising Stars is, essentially Rising Stars, up on the curb there actually. Danny is going to hold on to the lead. It looks as though he will, although both of them seem to have been closed in a little bit by Bailey now. But anyway, on to the point then. So the Rising Stars final, essentially this is a place for those that didn't quite make it into the Pro Draft. That Sciatic Racer gone really wide. All 3 of them gone wide, actually. But it's a place for all of these guys to make a name for themselves in MotoGP eSport. The winner of this race will secure a place in the 2023 Pro Draft. And we've seen that person who secured that place in the 2023 Pro Draft go on to compete in the full Global Series in the past. The likes of Vindex and Piero Ricciuti, of course, Vindex this year riding for RNF Yamaha, and then also Pure Duty, initially on LCR Honda last season in his debut season, but now this year on the full factory Ducati. So this place, it's a proving hunting ground then for MotoGP eSport talent. And it looks as though we may well be seeing a little bit more of that created here, as though Danny leading does have Bailey closing in on him. Oh, and look at that, just as I say, commentators cursed. Danny has crashed out of the lead. That's a disaster then for the VR46 Racing Ducati, man. And it gifts the pole man, the initial pole man, on top in this race. It gifts him now the lead after falling all the way down to about 5th or 6th on the opening lap. So a very swift recovery then for the number 21 Bailey on the Grassini Racing Ducati. So it looks as though then this is pretty much going to be your contenders for this this place in the 2023 Pro Draft. You can see there already they're well ahead of this Gagler riders, and I say Gaggle because look at this. Is that Ali Guido? No, it's not Ali Guido. Of course, Ali Guido's a little bit further back there in 6th. Actually, just going to try and get a run on Corosaurus to go up into 5th. He does do that. Corosaurus now down to 6th. See what the KTM man can do on the brakes down into the final corner. Looks as though Ali Guido's got it covered off. Now let's see, but has he ran wide? Oh, there's a barge. Oh, there's another one. As up ahead of them, Mr. Hitstick goes wide as well. So these four, this is fantastic. All bumping and barging here. Mr. Hitstick just going to hold on for now. But as I say, Mr. Hitstick is 3.6 seconds behind Ike in 3rd, who in turn is over a second behind 2nd place. So look at that, already there's been changes. More chaos at turn 1 as Mr. Hitstick goes in deep. And then Ali Guido pounces to come up through. Ali Guido will be spitting feathers, no less, as well, because he did get the initial whole shot in this race, but then after that chaos at turn 1 where he got hit by, I think it was a Rogue Ducati, it was indeed actually a Rogue Ducati of Kindster, he dropped all the way back down to last, unfortunately. Baston has had his 2nd crash of the race, that's a shame, so he is well and truly out of it now. Doesn't even come up on the graphic at the moment for where he is. Look at this then, so Bailey is stretching that lead. It was about half a second as they went over the line at the end of lap 2, and it's definitely more than that now. Here's Bastona, unfortunate for him, the Brazilian who was in Rising Stars last year, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, battling away that time at Kota. But of course this year is a little bit different. We don't have 3 regional finals anymore, we just have 1 big final. We'll lob all the best of, well, the best of everyone into 1 big final, and we let them battle it out. The 3 areas, of course, if you want to take part in the Rising Stars next season. Oh, that's a shame for Danny. He's crashed once more, so he's going to slip down the order a little bit further. But if you want to take part in the Rising Stars next season, make sure you tune in to esport.motogp.com. You'll find all the details there as we dive into next season in 2023, but also to the social media channels. Follow at MotoGPeSport on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You know the full works. You can take part whether you're in 3 of our regions, which of course are North and South America, then Europe and Asia, Europe and Africa, and also Asia and Oceania. If you're in one of those areas, which of course you are, covers the whole world, then you'll be able to take part in the Rising Stars and fight in the 3 online challenges for a place in next year's Rising Star final. So definitely Bailey then has just got a bit of a hold on this one, hasn't he? We've ticked on to lap 4 now, so just about coming up to complete 1/3 race distance. And it seems he's got it all under control. Bailey was quite good in the qualifiers. I think he scored 70 points actually, so quite good indeed. Of course, 25 points for qualifying the fastest on your platform, in your region, I beg your pardon. So certainly qualified quite well indeed, scoring 75 points. Oh, that's a shame for Sciatic Racer. So that really is pressure off then for Bailey. Sciatic Racer, there's no way really he's going to be able to claw that gap back. It's just too much of a gap now. Of course, these guys are not our fully fledged Global Series superstars, but the guys at the top in this Rising Stars final are still mightily quick and consistent. So I doubt that we'll be able to see Sciatic Racer get back in amongst it at all. You've got to say, shout out Ali Guido, fastest lap, recovered all the way from 11th or whatever it was after that first turn chaos on lap 1. Got all the way up into 3rd here. It's just such a shame that he wasn't able to stay out of the drama on that first lap, because you've got to say, he's obviously got the pace. He's ran the fastest lap here, so there's no doubt in my mind that he would have been making Bailey sweat out front. If you're familiar to the MotoGP eSports series and you're wondering why I'm waffling on, Jack Appleyard isn't saying the word, that's unfortunate because Jack is busy on MotoGP duties at the moment. Of course, we've just had the Australian Grand Prix, and he's busy out there enjoying the life on the other side of the world, where we are still here in Barcelona. But fortunately, we get to watch the Rising Stars unfold and get a glimpse at possibly one of the contenders in the MotoGP eSport Global Series for the future. So here's Bailey then, out front. What's the gap now? Is that 1.4? No, not 1.4, beg your pardon. 3.3 seconds, 3.4 seconds, roughly around there. He's commanding this one, absolutely dominating it. Still not the fastest lap for him, that is still going the way of Ale Guido, but he certainly will not mind at all, because this is turning into somewhat of a Sunday cruise for Bailey on the Grassini racing machine. Look at that, taking all the curb all the way in there in Sepang. We cut back now to Mr. Hitstick. Of course, he was, oh, that might be too much curb. Bailed out of that one. Mr. Hitstick was, of course, involved in that, well, scintillating battle for fourth earlier on, where there was about 4 or 5 of them all queued up behind him. But unfortunately, he hasn't managed to stay at the head of that one. He has just slipped down a little bit. And now he does have some pressure once again from Danny, who will be, well, chomping at the bit after 2 crashes in this race when he was up there early on in second place. Of course, as you're watching this, don't forget that we do have the final round of the MotoGP eSport Global Series coming up for you in Valencia over the Valencia Grand Prix weekend. It will be on the Friday of that week. Oh, look at this. What a dive bomb maneuver that is from Danny. Never going to work. Goes in way too deep. And Mr. Hitstick just calmly carves back on through up the inside. But Danny might have a little bit of a slingshot run down the front straight now. Look at this. They're going to be side by side, the Ducati and the Aprilia man. Who's going to outbrake who? Looks as though Danny's going to drop it over the nose, but surely he's going wide again. Oh, no, he doesn't. Incredible stuff. So that's the move done then for Danny. Recovered 1 position, but still for 7th. Unfortunately, it is absolutely pointless because there is only 1 winner in these Rising Stars finals, and they take all of the prize, unfortunately. So look at this here. Ike's got some pressure from Ale Guido, as Ale Guido's on a storm once again to recover all those places that he lost. Maybe he's just hoping that there'll be some kind of chaos up front with Bailey. Maybe if he has a little crash in the MotoGP eSport game, sorry, in the MotoGP video game, it'll cost you a good 4 or 5 seconds, and he is roughly about 4.5 seconds off the lead. So Bailey, even though he's not under any immediate pressure, he certainly can't afford to make a big error. Tuck in the front somewhere, such an easy thing to do in the MotoGP video game. You see now Ale Guido, look at this, closing in through the fast flip-flop here. Look at that, he's got a much better line than Ike. He's going to go up the inside. Oh, and he's barged him out of the way. I won't say it, but yeah, remind us back to a particular year, MotoGP. Ale Guido then dives up the inside of Ike. The 2 Yamahas trade positions, and it looks as though that is going to be all she wrote, because he's already pulled 4/10 on Ike, going down into the final corner here. So good recovery then from the Yamaha man. Just a big shame that he wasn't able to get away cleanly at the start. Of course, Sepang's a very, very tricky circuit as well. You see Bailey out front, and it'll be interesting actually now just to watch that gap between Bailey and Ale Guido, just to see what does happen. We know Ale Guido's got 53s in his bag, and we don't think Bailey at the minute has that, but it'd be interesting to see just how far off Bailey is the pace of Ale Guido, because of course now they both have clear track, no one else to overtake for Ale Guido, and Bailey out front, he's well clear. The only thing he might come across is Bastona. If Bastona has a couple more crashes, well, there we go, so there's one, unfortunately. Bastona already over It'll be about a minute behind. Yeah, look at that. Over a minute behind the race leader now. If he has a few more crashes, then Bailey will be catching him up at some point to lap him. But I don't think that's going to happen. We'll probably just run out of time for that. So about 3.5 laps to go then. And the gap now is under 4 seconds. So maybe, just maybe, there's something on here. You never, ever know. It was about 4.4 when it came across the line at the start of this lap. So it's only 4 tenths in about 2/3 of the lap. So it's not going to be enough for Ali Guido if he continues at that rate. He needs to pull in a fair few tenths more than that, actually. Well, he's going to have 3 laps to go this time when he crosses the line. And the gap is still well over 3 seconds. It's at 3.9. So he's going to need to pull in 1.3 a lap if he's even going to get a sniff at overtaking Bailey. And that could be a very, very tricky ask indeed. As we say, Bailey's been extremely fast in the qualifiers, one of the fastest. So not going to be an easy task. But nevertheless, coming across the line then, 3.6 is what Bailey has to work with. And I think now we're just going to see him manage it from here. Easy to overdo it at Sepang in the game. Of course, around here, this is one place that tortures the tyres. You can hear Bailey short shifting there, coming all the way through turn 3. Down now into turn 4 then. It's an easy one to run a little bit deep, run a little bit wide. You've got to make sure you brake early enough, because if you brake too hard going into there, you will top the front very, very easily. But look at that, he's got plenty of tyre left. He must have ran the hard front or something like that. You can see him there engaging the ride height device as well. Coming down now into this turn 6 is 7, I think it is. Flicking it through, all very, very smooth. He's running out of rear tyre on the right hand side a little bit, but that's not too much of a worry. He hasn't got too long to go. That's Sepang Racing that's gone down, that's a shame. So he was in 4th, he's slipped behind Joe on the LCR Honda, and also Adam Iman on the Repsol Honda. So Sepang Racer and Danny that were running 2nd and 3rd at one point in this race, then now down to 6th and 7th. But yeah, what's the gap then? 3.2. So it is still coming down a little bit. Here you go. Here's Adam Iman on the Repsol Honda that we just pointed out. Certainly not a bad showing, but I imagine not quite what Adam Iman would have wanted. We have seen him in eSport Rising Stars finals in the past. And still not quite enough just to make it through to be able to secure that 1 position in the 2023 Global Series draft, Pro Draft. Okay, coming across the line then. 2 laps to go. Bailey has got this under control, you would say. Ali Guido took about, what was it, about 8 or 9 tenths out of him last time. Or actually, maybe a full second, because it was 3.6, wasn't it? So he took just under a second out of him, but there was 2 laps to go, and there's 2.9 of a gap now at the minute. So still, once again, we're just seeing it's not going to be quite enough for Ali Guido to be able to close down. Oh, look at these two, they're getting close once more. Adam Iman and Sepang Racer. Sepang Racer on the Pramac Ducati, looking to go at the inside of the Repsol Honda, possibly get it done into turn 4 here. He's got a better run than him. Brakes a little bit later. You saw him jolt forwards there compared to Adam Iman on the Repsol Honda. Doesn't run wide, just onto the curve a little bit, be able to park it at the apex, stop him from turning in. A little bit of a block pass there, and that should do nicely. It's very tight there through 5 and 6. Fast and flowing corners, but 5 tightens up much more than you might think. So certainly difficult indeed. Adam Iman on the curb all the way out there, looking for every inch of the racetrack to be able to bite back at Sepang Racer. Back to the front then, and that gap is still 2.7, so it's not going to be enough. I think it's fairly safe to say now that Bailey has this one in the bag, barring any big mistakes. We're about a lap and 2 corners from home, and really this should be the Gresini Racing mats. You hear him upshifting there on that Ducati all the way into top gear. Of course, Sepang, one of the fastest places that we go to, topping out at about 345-ish kilometers an hour at the bottom of the straight there, and also on this front straight too. So we are going to come flying onto the final lap then for Bailey. A 2.4 gap over this man, Ale Guido. A valiant effort from Ale Guido. Has come through pretty much everyone to return all the way up to second place after getting the initial hole shot and then dropping like a stone all the way to 11th after that initial contact with the Ducati man of Keinster. So you have to say well done, but also second place counts for nothing in the Rising Stars final. It is only the winner that the spoils of victory go to. And it seems as though Bailey has that one all under control. We have to say as well, actually, just noticed there that track limits has been incredibly clean from all of our guys here in the Rising Stars final. I have to say that the Global Series boys need to have a watch of this and learn how to stay on track limits. It's been incredibly good from all of them here. Only, what is that, 3 riders with 1 warning each. So certainly very, very clean indeed. They've done a great job actually abiding to the laws of the track limits. But half a lap to go then for Bailey. The gap is around 2.1, but it is all superficial at this point. It is going to be the Brit that's going to take home victory and secure himself a place in the 2023 Pro Draft. Of course, that doesn't guarantee him that he'll be into the Global Series for 2023, but it gives him the best possible shot at making his way in. A very good leg up indeed, and he has to take inspiration from the guys that have done it before, both Vindex and Piero Ricciuti. They've both won this event in previous years, both gone on to have success, podiums and wins, and fighting for titles in the Global Series final. Now Bailey could be the 3rd man to go on and do that. We'll have to see in 2023, but for right now, Bailey is your 2022 Rising Stars final winner. Congratulations, he comes across the line ahead of Ale Guido in 2nd. Ike's going to take 3rd. That's a great ride from him, solid effort. I think that's his best Rising Stars performance. Joe takes 4th on the LCR Honda from South Africa Racer, and Adam Iman 2. Danny comes across the line in 7th, with Keinster, the Ducati man, in 8th. Of course, the one that huge dive bomb into the first corner on lap 1. Macargo on the KTM will come home in 9th, with Mr. Hitstick crossing the line in 10th, and also Chorosaurus on the KTM too. And then the luckless Bastona, you have to throw some commiserations out to him. He's been incredibly quick on the qualifiers, but just today it hasn't quite worked out for him. We'll follow him home all the way to the checkered flag here. Could be a little bit of time. He's 1 minute 4 behind, bless him. But certainly you have to say that he'll come back next year and fight to do what he didn't do this year. So congratulations then to Bailey. A brilliant ride, of course, pole position. Had a little bit of bad luck off the start, got bumped and barged, ended up around 5th or 6th, but certainly not as bad luck as some of the others that were up there early on. Managed to make his way through from about 5th or 6th. With some nice overtakes, there was a few sweeping ones up the inside through some of the flip-flops here in Sepang. And certainly did a very good job picking his way through indeed. So here we go then, Bastona crossing the line as our last finisher to take 12th place. And in a moment we should just have the results approved for you. So here you go then, confirmation that Bailey on the Gresini Racing Ducati is your winner. Ahead of Ale Guido, commemorative ride there from that man. 1.1 seconds behind in the end after being, well, much further back than that. Ike takes 3rd from Joe. South Racer confirmed there in 5th, with Adam Iman 6th. Danny 7th, Keinster 8th, Macargo 9th, Mr. Hitstick 10th, Chorosaurus 11th, and Bastona rounding us out. So there you have it then, your Rising Stars final for 2022.